for me.
They say they wanna see black.
TREADdEEP.
Mario Guzman, my man, thank you so much for being with us. How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. First and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm super pumped that every time I speak to you, you're raising it to another level. Now we're doing podcasts, and to think, I think I've known you for a while. We've always had, first we've kind of ran into each other and it was joking around. And without a doubt, I think it was that eerie night in North Carolina at a bar where the stars aligned. And I think we just kind of really clicked and just had real conversations for a good hour and a half about men of color in the industry and what can we do to help other men of color. So that was, I think without a doubt, that forged a bond that has yet to been broken and everything has been strengthened. So super proud of everything you're doing. And I'm here to enjoy the process, man.
Man, that's humbling, Mario, and I really appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. And I remember that evening, and it was cool to go deep. Frankly, I think other cats at the bar were doing their thing, kind of trying to wind down from the event, and I think it was you, me, and T Dow actually, kind of in a little cipher, and yeah, just chopping it up, and she was kind of in and out. And yeah, you divulged some things to me, just about your journey and where you were hoping to go, and even some frustration and challenges. But yeah, I got to know Mario Guzman, for real in that moment. And you're right, and that's probably been 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was saying, man, that's my son's 7 now. That's probably 10 years ago, man. And that kind of has got you off.
Yeah, no, it was definitely pre-COVID, no doubt. Back when we could, shake hands and all that.
Man, no doubt.
So no, man, it's great to be part of your journey at some level, and certainly have you as an intricate part of Vine and that of Black Free Network, yo. But look, let's get into this, man. Look, when I shout BX, what does that mean to you?
Man, the BX. The BX is me, man. I think everyone has, and it's interesting because even in New York, like New York City, right? Everybody thinks New York City is, wow. To us, like living in New York, the city is downtown Manhattan. And no New Yorkers live in downtown Manhattan. Everybody's from out of state. Everybody avoids downtown Manhattan. It's like Disney World. If anyone who lives in Orlando avoids Disney World because of all the tourists and everything like that, right? But even within like the 5 boroughs, the Bronx is like, man, it's just buildings and cemeteries over there. So even within, you have that rivalry within, the Yankees and Mets, the Giants and Jets, there's a clear division. There's a delineation. So, of course, Yankees and Giants fan, but the BX is, I'm a child of the BX. You know what I mean? And people might have a certain mentality of what that looks like, but it just shows a diversity within, right? You know what I mean? Growing up, first born here, immigrant parents, growing up in a predominantly Black and Latino area. And truthfully, growing up in New York, just a very big melting pot. And you get used to that. I think the rest of the world is like that. And then when you start traveling, it's like, whoa, hey, hold on. Okay, watch out now. But saying the BX brings me, without a doubt, I lived in New York until I was 19. So went to high school, went to college up there. So really my foundation, my work ethic, my everything.
Man, that's dope, man. Shout to the Bronx, to all the other boroughs, man. BK, Shaolin, for those who know, or et cetera, man. Yeah, that's dope. For the industry cats who don't know and who've clearly never listened to a webinar, visited LinkedIn, left the shop, Mario Guzman is what I'm going to call a super subject matter expert. But yo, here's this Dominican dude who carries an authentic New York swag and a very direct delivery. Just a few years ago, it was you, Al Curtis, Tim Fitzgerald, Cedric Roberts, and Chi Niaga Nash on any speaker roster anywhere throughout the industry. And that was it. What does it mean to you to now see an exponential increase in Black expertise at multiple industry events, on webinars, and on platforms like this, man?
It is an absolute beautiful thing. You know, it is an absolute, I don't know if I can even, in I like to pride myself on articulating myself a certain way. And I don't even know if I can find the words of how I feel. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's almost euphoric to a certain extent, right? It's almost euphoric with the dichotomy of it's about damn time. You know what I mean? It's almost like I'm happy. This is beautiful. This is great. And then almost like, all right, bet this needs to be the norm. You know what I mean? And it's amazing. It's amazing. And what I love is that I go to these conferences now, no matter where you're going, and I don't know half the people there, and they don't know me, and I'm like, God, this is cool. You know what I mean? Because we knew each other. Me and you knew each other. But me, you, and Al. I mean, it was almost like, oh, okay. Hey, what's up? And we always had our little, you know, I don't want to say, well, we always got together. We found a way of finding ourselves within a conference, and it was always the same folks, you know, kind of, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? You know, that love. And now you still see that, obviously, but not as much as before, because there is so much diversity with women and everything, and just different. We're in a global field right now. So it's just a beautiful field. It's a beautiful thing to see that level of representation. So I'm proud of it. I'm proud. I'm happy. It fills me with a level of joy of like, yeah, man, this is awesome. This is amazing. With a little bit of, all right, it's our time to shine. It's about time.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for expressing that. And the reason I ask is when we talk about equity, you know, sure, there's the obvious of, you know, someone's employee count needs to improve when it comes to diversity, you know, but sadly, there's so often the assumption that when we're talking about Black and brown people, you know, people's minds, you know, immediately go to entry level, right? We're only on the shop floor. We're only on the manufacturing floor. We only got our fingernails dirty, you know, and that's why I let people know, you know, Mario is a super subject matter expert, and these other folks that I named are in that same vein, but that handful, it goes very, very, I mean, it's extensive who we are and how we can articulate ourselves because of the deep experience that we have. And so to be on those rosters, to be taps, to be able to own platforms where we get to flex what we know, yeah, man. So thank you. You've carried a variety of roles that represent an array of responsibilities, from public to private sector, from fleet to public works. Maybe we can get into kind of how that's nuanced for those who don't know, to sales consultation and more. With such deep expertise, what are 3 critical transferable skills that your experiences have developed in you?
3 transferable skills, huh? All right. Right off the bat, I forget how the old adage goes, but it's something, and I'm going to chop it up, so my apologies, but it's something to the likes of, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should be listening twice as much as you talk, you know? And you know what? That sounds very easy. I was a horrible listener, right? I could hear people talking, but I already had my rebuttal in my head of what I was talking about. But really listening and understanding, because 2 things are going to happen. I mean, a lot of things happen when you listen to people. Number one, you're going to learn from them. You might learn what you want to do and what you might not want to do, right? And from a strategic aspect, you know, you have an opportunity to gain insight on what's happening in the situations. And it's just having that level of that presence of mind and that situational awareness to see what's going on. And that's both from a visual aspect, but definitely learning the art of listening. I mean, I'm not sure if you ever had a conversation with someone and you met at a conference or somewhere and they see you introduce yourself, you have a conversation, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Great. And then you see them later on, another 2 weeks later, and they're like, hey, Zay, how you doing? How's blank, blank project? Something that was personalized to you. That's an impact. You know what I mean? So I think without a doubt, learn how to listen. And I think it's harder as you're younger, because when you're younger, you're like, you're charged up, all these ideas and energies, which is great. That's what the youth bring. But definitely having more of a tethered approach and really just listening and understanding and see what's going on. So without a doubt, the art of listening, and then B, I would say that the second thing that's important is, being vulnerable to a certain extent. I think a lot of times we feel, a certain way. I don't want to seem this way. I don't want to seem that way. It's funny because you had introduced me as being very direct, and I prided myself on being very direct, right? But I think that actually hurts me more than not, I think it's okay to be direct and all that, but I'd rather show a non-confrontational, hey, I need help with this. Can you help me out with that? And I don't know. I believe in the good in people, and of course you got your people from all walks of life who may be, ill-intentioned, but for the most part, I believe in the good of people. And instead of me acting like I know what I'm doing or this, just bring a very, hey, I need your help on this. Can you help me out on that? Or help me understand, hey, pardon I don't understand that much. But, now you're opening yourself up. You almost, to a certain extent, disarm the other person. If they had their walls up, now someone's asking them for help. If someone asks me for help, I'm going to have a hard time not helping them. So I do think that bringing that approach of, hey, asking for help, listening, obviously, and I think that without a doubt, and also put the work in. You got to put the work in. Everybody talks about opportunities, and I never got a chance. You got to put the work in there. You know what I mean? And you got to put it in, and you got to trust the process. I can tell you throughout my career, I've been in opportunities where I questioned what I was doing, right? And I was in situations where I felt I was doing too much work, right? And I remember I was like, man, this is too much work. And I'm very thankful I had one of those old school cats that said, man, you need to shut up and listen. Because all that work I was doing that I was not getting compensated for, but I learned a great deal of skills. And when the time came to rise to the occasion, no one can take that away from you. You know what I mean? So, and you really got to put the work in. You know what I mean? You really got to, a lot of people think, man, it's easy. Are you comfortable up there talking? I'm like, I am and I'm not. I am and I'm not. There's a lot of preparation that goes behind the scenes. On the outside, I'm like a duck. On the outside, I'm on the top of that lake. Just, hey, I'm good, man. Everything's cool. On the bottom. So I think, and in time and all that, have the ability to continuously learn, it's a double-edged sword, because you want to be comfortable in your own skin, yet you don't want to be comfortable. You want to have that sense of alert, that sense of awareness constantly. So if I had to break it down in 3 things, learn how to, listen, be humble, a little bit of vulnerability, ask for help, and put the work in.
Listen, kids, because you move humbly, and in my reference to your direct communication style, certainly had
Which is very true. Very true.
Yeah, nothing to do with confrontation though, right? Which that deserves its own conversation, because I think a lot of people come to that thinking from a negative perspective, but that's not necessarily true. But because you move humbly, and I think you keep what's most precious pretty close to the chest. Many may not know much about your commitment to developing young people, which is something that came to my attention on that fateful night several years ago when we connected. Tell us, what is Mario Guzman's definition of effective mentorship?
Effective mentorship. Wow. I think is genuinely caring about the other person, right? And caring so much that you caring so much that you're going to be real about expectations, you know? I try, this is where the directness comes then. I try not to sugarcoat things, you know, and the reality is it's rough out there. It is rough out there in the job market. It's going to be rough out there with competition. So if you don't start taking some punches early and get used to that, you're going to fail out there, you know? And so I try not to coddle too much, you know, because it's competitive out there. Kind of a side story, I was taking up boxing one time with a buddy of mine, and I was practicing, going through the motions, and I went into spar, and he hit me in the face. This is boxing. And I was just like, in the moment, you know, I never got hit before. And I'm like, why'd you hit me? I'm like, because we were sparring, bro. Like, what's your problem?
Because we're at the boxing gym.
Yeah. But that was like a new thing to me. I was like, you know, I was just in the moment. You know what I mean? The problem, I never got punched in the face before in a boxing ring. So my advice is go get punched in the face. No. But figuratively, go get punched in the face. Figuratively, deal with difficult things. And I think here's the other thing about it. When it comes, not all, obviously, but when you talk about our black and brown folks, there's a lot of that. And that's always seems like a negative thing. And I'm not saying it's not negative, but I also think if you look at the positive of it, I'm the eternal optimist. I'm going to try to get something positive out of everything. And if you deal with adversity, okay, cool. All right. And that's not downplaying it. But what does that really build inside of you? That builds a callus. That builds resilience. You know what I mean? So you got to just hone in on those skills, and you have a choice. You can let it break you down, or you can be better for it and know about those life lessons. And almost, I don't know. I always ask anyone, think about the most difficult time you had in your life, right? Think about the most difficult time you had in your life, be it personal or professional. If you had an opportunity to take that out of your memory bank and take away all the pain and everything it caused, would you do it? Right? I don't know. Because with that adversity and that pain and that hurt, whatever the situation was, you gained a wealth of knowledge that no book, no video, no short, no podcast is going to teach you. And sometimes you just have to go through that very thing to become the better person, the best person of yourself, the best version of yourself.
So if somebody's looking for a great mentor and he has availability, you might want to hit this man up.
Yeah, man. No, I love helping people out. I love telling our youth because, you know, you get the eye in the sky. I want to do these great things, and that's great. I want to encourage that. But you got to put the work in, man. You know,
Yeah.
I forget that quote I read. Mario, you're pretty lucky, Mario. I'm like, yeah, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And that's something.
How that works. I mean, you get out of it what you put in, right? I mean, that's just, you reap what you sow. I mean, there are a variety of ways to say that, but you know, if you're looking for a full glass, back to what you mentioned about vulnerability, that's vulnerability, right? I think that's a great way to describe it. It's not, let me let my guard down so I can get hurt. No, it's let me remain open enough really to get poured into. And to the point you just made, that pouring isn't always, you know, some of that substance might be a little acidic, might burn a little bit, might, you know, be a little bitter. But you know, look at the human makeup, right? We're all of those things. We are some acidic compound. We're a lot of neutral compound, right? We're 70-75% water. You know, but we gotta be open to getting poured into. And that also means doing some self-pouring, right? Read a book, you know, listen to somebody who is, you know, wiser. In many cases that comes with age, but not always. But, you know, step back and observe. So no, man, that's, and we talk so much in this industry about mentorship, and I had to ask that question because number one, people need to understand your commitment to the next generation, but also, I think we talk around it to the extent to our question, is it actually happening? Mentorship, which isn't this formal program, right? It may be some of that, but man, grab somebody who you genuinely care about and get in their ear, get in their life to an appropriate extent so that they can rise like you have, right? And I think it boils down to that, man. So let's get a little relevant as it pertains to these times in which we live. You live in Florida, right? Right, Mario? Well, so that's a fun state in the last few years for a variety of reasons. Y'all keep the headlines hot. But look, man, and at BFN, we're a 501c3. And yeah, there might be some tax benefits and blah, blah, blah that come with that. And, but where there is a hard line is where we can't be political. There are other good friends of ours, organizations that we rock with. They're on the hill, right? They're lobbying, they're pushing for a variety of things, and we need that. But I'll tell you, man, I'm good. I'm good, but it's not for fear or apprehension of getting in the mix of it all, because our people need to vote. You need to stand for something that is positive, something that is constructive, and that moves progress. But from where I sit and from where I think most of our people sit, and we ain't got the luxury to sit around and argue about a lot of stuff that people do try to fill the headlines with. So in the interest of moving fleet and mobility forward in the most important ways, what needs to happen to depoliticize this industry, man?
Oh, okay. So part of me feels like that. Part of me sees. Well, no. Part of me feels like that ship has sailed already, right? Part of me feels like that ship has sailed already, right? And I'm not big on I don't know. I appreciate theories and I appreciate hypothesis, but I'm more of a solutions based, action based person, right?
Come on.
No matter what side of the aisle you sit on, facts are facts, right? So how are you capturing data? Number one, what are you capturing? Number two, why are you capturing it? And what story can you tell behind it? So when it comes to just our industry, let's look at the pros and cons and look at data from a holistic perspective with both sides, because you do need. I think both sides. You need both sides. I think if you ever align yourself with one and not the other, I think that's a failure in itself. Because if that's like reading books on policies that you like and you agree with.
It lays toward extremism. It just does.
Yeah. You start having groupthink. We all think the same way. We all, let's look at all different perspectives, So, but get the right data in place so you can come to someone. Because here's the deal. If you stand on this side of the aisle, and these are my folks, other side of the aisle, all right, we're at war. Those are the rules of the game, right? And vice versa. I always think about, I don't make the rules to this, I just play my part, but at the end of the day, if you come in from a very neutral perspective, mission critical, these are the facts, there's environmental implications, there's economical implications, both pro and against it, I think there's space to coexist, right? So I don't know if, and to answer your question, I'm not sure if the battle is there to depoliticize it, because I think I think that ship is not ready, and I think it'd be too huge of an effort to fight against that. Why not work within the confines of that game for a better solution?
Talk to him, Mario. Let him know. Yo, no, but and that was a loaded question, purposefully. You see what I'm saying? And yeah, the reason is, I believe, and if somebody was to spend a little time on the BFN site, right? Like, we literally overtly articulate that we have a solution orient, right? And that's literally how you started your response. That's not to. We definitely don't want to dismiss histories. We don't want to discount the shoulders we stand on, right? But man, I don't know, anybody who has, the slightest positive bent about themselves, who isn't hopeful for tomorrow. And therefore, whatever they're doing today, whatever they're thinking today, whatever bad habit they're trying to shed today, has everything to do with them and those they care about for tomorrow. But at the same time, who do we care about? Right? Yeah. And if I only relegate my caring to a narrow representation of people, what does that do for me and those I care about? It's not going to work out well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I don't see. Let me get off let me kick my little soapbox to the side. In fact is, I ain't got one, man. Like, we got work to do out here, and when we talk about progress, man, that's not a political statement. I bet everybody wants some money tomorrow. I bet somebody want to eat tomorrow. I bet somebody dreaming about some island vacation they want to take. So to quote you a few responses ago, we got to put in the hard work, man, and that's just what we got to do. We got work to do. So for Black and Latino men and women who are finding themselves, I don't know, nervous, apprehensive, I think some are just downright scared right now during these turbulent times, right? And look, I'm not sitting here to I'm not trying to paint some picture of, right? No, but we ain't gonna sit here and lie either, right? This is not the worst time in history. I do want people to know that. If you believe that, please open up a book and read about ancient Rome. Or bona fide Jim Crow. Like, this ain't the worst. But this isn't the coziest time in modern history either. But before our Black and brown brothers and sisters, man, who are feeling some angst, what advice do you give them, Mario, to kind of help them move past fear and into hope?
Oof. Where do we start?
Look. That's, hit it like you want to, man. That might be related to, where they are in their professional life. It might be related to where they're in their personal life. Whatever it is, but, whatever comes to mind. Yeah, but how would you help them? What advice would you give to help them move past fear and into hope?
Well, I'm going to sound super obnoxious because I'm like the eternal optimist the whole time. You know what I mean? I like to control the controllables, right? You control the controllables. And what's the one thing you can't control? It's yourself. It's your intake. It's how you react to things, right? I really do feel that, if you can control what feeds into you. If you're watching a lot of negativity, like, I don't watch the news. I watch the news once in a while. It's a balance of seeing what's going on, but knowing that I don't want to get influenced, because I think inherently it's made to push buttons So you watch it more, and then there's more advertisers, and that's a business. It's an emotional business, right? And that's not to discredit things that are happening out there. But there's things happening out there that you could take a stand on. One of the things that I'm a strong advocate for is local politics, right? People are so absolutely passionate about the presidential elections, right? Do you know who your commissioners are where you live? Because they have a direct impact on your life. And I can tell you from where I live, I think we have a population with the municipality I live in. I think we have about 40,000 residents or something like that, 43,000, right? We recently had an election. Obviously, I voted. I think the turnout was like 7,000 people, right? I mean, you look at these numbers across the United States, look at the number of people you work for. I've worked in municipalities where you have 180,000 people in that municipality, and then only 10,000 vote, right? That's not representing. So, you have an opportunity, number one, vote, get out there and vote. And number two, go out there and be a candidate. We need people to step up. You know what I mean? You want to start making some changes? Learn the rules of the game. I think too many times people get influenced on, hey, I saw this podcast, I read it. Do the work. Do the research. I research everything. Whenever anybody tells me anything, okay, cool. But I got to research it. And I look at it from both sides. I'll put on XYZ network. I'll put another network on, pro and against, to try to gain some kind of perspective, So I do think that it starts with mindset. I do think that, monitor what your input is, and you control your own life. And at the end of the day, you only get one life. Fear brings nothing out of, I don't want to discount people's fears, but I think sometimes you have to live in the now, right? Sometimes we have a bad habit of creating issues in our head. And as a great book I read, The Power of Now. And I forget the author's name, but he talks about, you create these things in your head, and now it's a problem. It's a fear. It's angst. And now you're trying to create a solution for the problem that you created in your head. Think about that. And now you're coping with the problem that you created in your head. How crazy is that? Right? So I'm not discounting the fear. Process that emotion, and then focus on what are you doing right now? Is your work situation not where it needs to be? Okay, cool. Can you control work? Probably not. But can you control yourself? Absolutely. Are you reading the right books? Are you at least moving in the right direction to get some other things? Are you associating yourselves around people that give you positive reinforcement? I'll tell you one thing that was difficult for me that I really struggled with. I outgrew relationships. I grew up a certain way and had a certain friends. And as I grew up, I felt bad for, I don't know, call it survivor's guilt or feeling bad that these are not cool as they were before me. And that's just a part of life, though. As you grow, as you evolve, you might outgrow friends and might need a new set of friends, and that's just all part of this whole life process. So if you find yourself in fear, if you're in fear of your life because you're, your safety, definitely address that without a doubt. But how much of this is real? And I don't want to. Maybe that's the incorrect way of saying it. But how much of it is hypothesized? Of hey, it's happening. Of how much you got to deal with. And if something is a real issue and you're gonna fight for it, go out there and fight for it. Right now is the time to get involved. Have your voice heard. And I can say there's just so many opportunities out there. So many nonprofits. I think I'm in so many nonprofits right now. And I have friends on a lot of friends involved in politics on both sides. And you get to see a lot of the work that goes behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And it's really good. Like I said, I believe in the good of people. Not everyone, but I believe in the good of people. And for the most part, what you're seeing, I always question what I see. You know what I mean? Is this, are they playing with my emotions so I can watch the special tonight at 9:00? Sponsored by, You know what I mean? So, and like I said, that's not to discredit some of the issues we have going on right now and some of the issues people may be having. But there's opportunities to step up. There's opportunities to volunteer. There's opportunities to, I tell anyone, go to get involved with your local politics. Get involved with your local politics. See what policies align with your needs. Don't let anyone tell you what this is, what and what's that, and question both and argue and be that representation. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, fear and angst, process it. Control the controllables. You control your own time. You control how you react to it. Are there times I was scared? I think one of my favorite comedians is Bill Burr, and he had a he had a thing where he spoke about, he was on a plane and some guy was like, "Ugh." He was like, man, I felt like that guy too, but I wasn't showing that. You know what I mean? So, you control how you react to things.
Look, man, I'm sorry. See, now you got me thinking about, it's funny. I've been talking about Bill Burr all week because I just saw the clip with him on Fallon, snapping on Elon Musk. Yeah. And I'll just say, man, what I love about Bill Burr, right? And man, if you are a comedy buff, if you're a comedy hound, and you don't know about the back of the day Bill Burr Philly incident.
Oh yeah.
Look, that's comedy history, right up there with knowing about the intricacies of the Rick James joints on the Chappelle Show, or taking it back to the realities of a living color. Man, learn about that. But what I love about Bill Burr is, if you know him, right, you know that moment when he's about to start snapping.
Yeah. And if you dissect that, and part of my interruption, he did the work, because the things he was referencing, he knew about it. So number one, he did the work, right? Things weren't going the way he wanted it to go. He controlled himself, and then he went off, and it became what is called the epic rant, and then the crowd loved it, and he turned it around. So again, no, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work, but you control your space. You control. I always tell people, I'll give you a quick story. I worked in an organization where I had an employee that was not doing what they were supposed to be doing, right? And we were kind of really meeting with that employee, letting them know, hey, this has to happen. This has to happen. We were checking up on them more frequently because there was a lot of mistakes being made and they were not performing to the way they had to perform. And we were really monitoring that employee to the extent that we had him on a informal performance improvement plan. Okay. I say informal because had it been formal, things get documented and we go that route. But it was a very informal employee improvement plan, right? Just so happens that employee goes out to employee A under the PIP was going out to lunch with employee B, right? Employee B is now affected by employee A, to the extent that they come to me saying, man, with everything going on and this and that. And I think I was like, what are you talking about? Right? And the employee started telling me things that the other employee was telling them, of things that were happening to them. And I had to stop and go, two things. Number one, you're doing a phenomenal job. And I love everything you bring to the table. You are awesome. Number two, do me a favor. Please live your own life. Please live your own experiences. Okay? That person's probably going through a tough time, and that's unfortunate, but they have made decisions and behaved in a certain manner that now has them in that area. Hence why we have the situation going on. But that's their reality. That's not your reality. So live your own reality. And from my perspective, you're doing a phenomenal job. You're doing a great job. You're an asset to your organization. Keep up the great work. And that just squashed that. You know what I mean? Taking that out to our story now, to our fears and anxieties or things that are going on. Like I said, I say this with nothing but love and respect. Make sure you're living your own experience. Don't let anyone dictate. If your fear is valid, process that, take care of it. I'm not living somebody else's fear. I'm good. I'm doing my part to make things better for the youth. I'm doing my part to do things better in the organization. I'm on the private sector now. The majority of my clients are government clients. I'm doing my part to make sure I make them successful from a national level. Give them the tools that I use to make to bring me success. So make sure you're living your own. Make sure you're living right now. Make sure you're living right now in your own story. And here's the thing about it: you can control your own story. You know what I mean? If you get knocked down, that's cool. You get back up, you shake off, and you get back at it. Just know where you are. If you feel you need to reassess and pivot, you control yourself.
Yeah. Challenge equals opportunity, man. That's just what that is. Thank you for that, for fleshing that out, Mario. I think as much reliable, sound advice and wisdom as we can spew right now. Not drip. We need to be, letting the hose flow with that. So thank you. So you are again a resident of Florida. You've committed a nice chunk of your fleet management, mobility, public works expertise within that state. And I think like I referenced a little while ago, Florida kind of always being very visible. There's some factual reasons for that, some objective reasons, and anybody who is on the solutions provision end of the industry understands why, right? And if they're launching product, service, or even just coming to market, brand spanking as a company, Florida's going to be toward the top of their list. And a big reason why that is because of the population, right? But because of that, and because of that, Florida is one of the top 3-4 markets in the U.S. When it comes to fleet concentration. And I quick shout out to all the loved ones in Florida. Obviously, we got Mr. Guzman on, Facundo Tesaro, Amy Dobrikova, Dave Prasad, the Flag for Organization, and plenty others. But I bring this up, Mario, and I just kind of want to ask, people focus on California for a lot of the reasons surrounding, EV sustainability. And there used to be kind of this saying and perception that, as California goes, so goes the rest of the country. People are always looking at New York. That's just makes sense just because of all of the layers of complexity they have when it comes to fleet management realities and concerns. And I think there are just other pockets, but, why is Florida important to the fleet management world within the U.S. and maybe even beyond when we are thinking about, everything from the population to just Florida is a lot of different communities in a lot of ways. Geography to weather patterns to, international representation of people. Yeah, but why should people keep an eye on Florida as really a beacon of fleet management leadership?
Wow. I've been living in Florida over 25 years, and can I put it? I've grown up in being a Florida fleet manager, living in Florida. And since, I really started my career and I got promoted back in 2005, I used to be a technician. Once I got promoted in 2005 to be an equipment specialist, where now I buy equipment and spec vehicles and everything like that, I had the opportunity to go to FLAGFA. And I feel like I've been very privileged to grow up in the fleet industry in Florida. To the extent, I thought that's the way it is. That's the way the world was. That's the way the country is. And that I said it with the utmost respect to all the other states. And there's a lot of strong strong geographical areas with fleet managers, but hands down, Florida is one of them. You know what I mean? And being involved with Flagfoot from a very young age, seeing that grassroots efforts, it's funny. It's almost like people first, fleet second. You know, the relationships you build, the camaraderie, I didn't have to be vulnerable because so many people wanted to help. So they knocked those walls. They knocked the walls down that I didn't even know I had. And it's just a beautiful thing to see how, looking at one of the founders of Flagfoot, Milton, you want to talk about men of color, Milton, Jamaican, really just the epitome of professionalism and knowing the fleet industry and seeing the folks that came from Milton. There was a gentleman called Mark Glaber that brought down a couple of folks down, Tom Blanchie down in South Florida. And like these, I'm looking at the back of your wall, with the hip hop and you got Nas and Biggie, those guys laid the foundation. And before that, they had the people before that. You know what I mean? So right. I think those gentlemen, I know Mark Glaber took Tom Blanchie and brought him down to Miami. And then Mark Glaber brought down Tom Blanchie and Doug Weishman, right? Very high level, those fleet managers. And then from those guys, Doug Weishman was a very spirited individual. And, with all that though, he gave me my shot. You know what I mean? And a lot of people in the industry, I think he hired Sarah Burnham. You know what I mean? Yeah, he did hire Sarah Burnham. And, you know what I mean? And you just start seeing how that goes on. You know what I mean? And I remember there was an Afrikaans. He called me the young pup. You know what I mean? And I was gonna be a big dog sooner on, but I was a young pup. But that's his thing. He was always, because he was brought up that way. And so that was just a microcosm of that aspect. But then you start looking at throughout the whole organization where just different people got promoted from within and started moving up. I mean, I can't even put into words. This is an absolute insane movement of just people moving up and doing things. And it's a level of exposing people to that camaraderie, to that brotherhood and sisterhood, and also maintaining it. You know what I mean? I spoke about local politics. I spoke about local things. From a professional level, I had the luxury. I live in Florida, so everyone's always stepping up to the plate. But there were times where I had to step up and be, I had to get involved on the NAFA local level, had to get involved at being a liaison with Flagfoot way back when, or membership or things like that. So there's opportunities to help people out. And then from our perspective, I was working, but I didn't know the platform that I had. And I think that was part of our conversation back in North Carolina, where for whatever reason, you put the work in, all my balance went into putting the work in, where I kept my head down. I worked hard, got promoted. And I think that was the basis of our conversation. When I looked around, I was like, hey, I didn't know that I represent a certain thing to certain people. Let me empower them. And I was not there. You know what I mean? And I think that conversation kind of shifted to where, okay, how can we start giving back now? How can we start helping people out as a whole? And the beauty with that is you got our Caucasian brothers and sisters backing us up with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It helps everyone. And that was just a beautiful thing.
Man, that's what's dope about Fleet, right? And then kind of back to that loaded question about, depoliticizing and people are going to be people, right? But man, this just isn't an industry. Really it's a conglomerate of industries, right? But you can't do anything solo and expect any kind of real success in this. And, for those who've been in it for 5 to 7 minutes, they understand that. And so I just love hearing this common thread throughout our conversation, Mario, of giving, man. And, yeah, man. So, props to Florida. Sarah, I'm so sorry I didn't call you out. You are among the loved ones. Please know that. But yeah, man.
There's so many. I mean, you go down the best fleets, leading fleets. Oh, I mean, yeah, Florida's just like crushing it. You know what I mean? Crushing it.
Yeah.
And it's great. But how do we spread that Florida love to Texas to Georgia to North Carolina. See what I mean? Amongst other states, and just have that.
So how Mario, it's called Black Fleet Network.
There you go. There you go.
What I'm saying. So look, man, we need to wrap this up pretty soon, man, because you need to have your day. But couple more things, man. You now, and I usually don't do this, because I really want to kind of keep things as neutral as possible. But because we are ride or die with those who ride or die with us. We gotta take this minute to shout out. You currently work with an incredibly all-star team of people, and man, that's not me blowing fire or smoke or any of that. This is because of my personal relationship with this team, with this company, with these individuals for many years, who frankly have helped, carve me into what I am in this industry right now, man, because of their, support in a variety of ways. But they are bona fide supporters as root sponsors, those who came in early on to support Black Fleet Network, and that is AssetWorks. And are you what, a year in, or is it
Almost. It's been man, it's almost been a year. It's like 10 months, 11 months. And the crazy thing is, like, it feels like I've been there 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people there, and they're like, it'll be like administrative things. Hey, how do I do this thing for the payroll thing? They're like, it's like, oh, that's right, you're new. I forgot about that. Yeah, you got to do this, because when it comes to the procedural thing, it's like, okay, yeah, we got to show you. But for the lingo, it was like, all right, what do you need? All right, we got a fleet. Oh, all right, let's go. Let's use it that way, use it this way. Rick and I have a conversation, and it's funny. Rick and I talk, and we speak the same language. We talk about everything's offense, lead the charge. It's obnoxious that the level of I guess super obnoxious. I love every second of it. But him and I have a joke, because I remember I was like, he goes, how you liking it so far? I was like, dude, I love it over here, man. I said, everybody's very supportive. I feel like I've been here for a long time. You know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like I've been working there for 10 years, and sometimes I feel like I'm working there for 10 minutes, right? I say the 10 minutes because when I have meetings with developers, and these are like absolutely brilliant minds. Yeah, they're talking their development talk, and I'm just like, what did they say? I have no idea what they say. And Rick goes, they don't count. They're normal. I've been here 10 years. I still can't understand what they say. I was like, all right, so it's not just me. I joke around. I have like I'll call out some of the developers. I'm like, hey, Serena, do you translate this? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, to English. I don't understand what this says. And they just get a kick out of that. But no, it's been awesome. They give me the space to do what I do. Learning so much more. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, man. Look, I got to run off some names, man. Big ups to Jessica, to Orlando, to Jacqueline, to Rick, Joe, Mary Ellen, Grace. I'm probably forgetting somebody. Forgive, but man, much love to all of you all, and much love to AssetWorks, including AssetWorks UK, man, for the support of Black Fleet Network. Been dang near since day one, and looking forward to an incredible journey with you all. Y'all made it a phenomenal choice in pulling in Mr. Mario Guzman for sure. Keep doing y'all's thing, and we appreciate you all. So look, man, I want you to know how much it means to Black Fleet Network for you, Mario, to be a dedicated and active member. Your approachability, your unapologetic vibe, and undeniable expertise carve you out as an exemplary man and colleague. That's so, people talk about giving somebody their flowers, right, on this side of the soil, and that doesn't begin to really scratch the surface on it. But I want you to know that, we want you to know that, because you truly are beloved, not only in this community, but throughout the fleet world. And for anybody who does not know Mario Guzman, take a moment if you see this man on the show floor. If you connect with him on LinkedIn, you will not regret anything from the 5 seconds to whatever time that you get with this guy. You're just a top-notch dude, Mario, and I really appreciate you. So before we dip, please share with our listeners what Black Fleet Network means to you.
Woof. What does Black Fleet Network means to me? Well, first and foremost, thank you for the kind words. And believe me when I say it, the feeling is mutual. You know what I mean? Black Fleet Network, I was going to tell you something, but I'm actually going to answer this question. What does Black Fleet Network mean to me? If I think about it, Black Fleet Network is part of a conversation that I had with a young man that actually started this podcast 10 to 15 years ago. That was an idea that we shared and that we spoke about, and not that we shared, that he shared with me. And that conversation, it was almost like, in my opinion, for me at least, was a pivotal shift. You talking about knowing the platform that we're in? That conversation allowed me to see the platform that I was in. I was going through that transition of saying, man, I feel like I'm good, but I'm not helping my people out. How can I help out? You know? And that conversation turned into, inspired me to move differently and be of service, right? And the young man that I'm speaking to, the founding member, Black Fleet Network was a heart-to-heart conversation that turned into an idea. And from that idea turned into action. And then from action turned into this platform, this synergy of just like, wow, you know what I mean? And seeing the membership, seeing the membership, the marketing, the everything, you know what I mean? And, and then that turned into actionable items. That turned into the Black Fleet Network Expo, the event we had in Atlanta. The Ascension, you know my back. I got kids. I don't have any memory. Oh, look, I got dad brain. But that turned into that. And for me to sit back and look how the progression has come from a conversation to a thought to inspiration to action to now, I can't even put into words, man. I mean, it's just phenomenal what you're doing, man. My hats go off to you. I mean, this shows brotherhood. This shows camaraderie. This shows that, we have a voice in this space. You know what I mean? A very powerful voice. It shows representation. It shows love. It shows professionalism. It shows collaboration. There's so many things. There's so many words that I can't even put into words that this represents. Hope shows a lot of folks that, hey, there's options. The media and the news, and you're supposed to be this. You're supposed to do this. The statistics say under 25, and I'm a little bit. This is where I get a little bit like, I'm from the Bronx, whatever. You know what I mean?
Come on,
This shows. Hey, this is opportunity. This is what you could be. I spoke about it earlier. You control your own destiny. You control your own story. Well, Black Fleet Network could be part of your story. And there's so many opportunities. And after you get involved, and it might be able to help you out, hopefully you get to a point where you can give more than you can take, and then you can start giving back some. You know what I mean? To help out the next generation.
My man, Mario Guzman. Brother, thank you so much for taking time with us, man, for really actually you've been persistent in wanting to have this conversation, and and the world should know it. This is the kind of conversations we always have when we get together, and so that nothing scripted here, folks. So what you see, what you hear is what you get. Mario, God bless you, man. As a loving husband and father and beloved colleague across many contexts, we look forward to a bright future with you And I imagine we'll see you in person pretty soon, right?
Yeah, man. Pretty soon, there's a couple of industry events coming up, and we'll definitely be there.
Yeah, love it, man. Mario, thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Tread deep.